I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to the Conversation with Al McFarlane. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. Friday, is the Healing Circle, so we'll be joined momentarily by our leader, Dr. Bravada Garrett Akinsanya, the principal at African American Child Wellness Institute. She guides us, leads us in a conversation about health, about being healthy, mind, body, spirit, community, planet. How do we focus on and be intentional in claiming our right to be healthy, our right to heal and be healed? Before we begin, though, I wanted to invite you and ask you to like and share. We're streaming on half a dozen platforms, two YouTube platforms, that of the Black Press of America, Black Press USA, and we're streaming on the YouTube platform for Insight News. Also streaming on three Facebook platforms, Insight News, Al McFarlane, and Black Press USA. We're streaming on Twitter, and we're streaming on LinkedIn. So you might be connecting with us on any of those platforms. We ask you to like and share, let people know that we're here. But we also ask you to mosey over to the Insight News MN, YouTube Insight News MN channel, and become a subscriber. What happens is that there's no charge, but you help us grow our numbers, and you get notification every time we go live, and we're going to be doing more and more live work in the future. So help us out with that. We also want to mention that we are supported in part by the event coming tomorrow up at UROC. There's a important activity tomorrow at UROC. I think I have it in the chat here. I can tell you about it. And if you're interested in being a homeowner, here's your way. It's called the Open Door, or One Door to the Open Door. And the idea is that you can come to this conference tomorrow and get all you need to put yourself on the path to owning your home. So Build Wealth Minnesota is presenting this tomorrow. It's going to be over at the Regional Acceleration Center, which is 1256 Penn Avenue North. We call it the Thor Building. It's a place that you can check out and get to. Love to have you on there. One Door to Home Ownership Expo, held tomorrow, June 22nd at 1256 Penn. The event is free. You can learn all you need to know about the path to home ownership. The idea is one day coming through one door. That door is over at Build Wealth MN, Build Wealth Minnesota. And today I wanted to also start off differently with sort of acknowledging that we're in Juneteenth. And it's an important time. We'll talk about that over the course of the program. But before I bring in Dr. B, I want to share an essay or an editorial piece that will be appearing in Monday's edition of Insight News. It's a piece written by our frequent contributor. In fact, he may be here later today, James Trice, who heads the Public Policy Institute. And we'll learn more about that as we go. James Trice is the founder and CEO of Public Policy Project, LLC. He's creator of the Environmental Justice Coordinating Council. And a piece he wrote that's published coming up in this Monday's paper. The title of the piece is Promises. He says, after the tragic murder of George Floyd 4 years ago, many promises were made. But the real question is, what promises have we made to ourselves? On May 25th, 2020, George Floyd was murdered by former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, a horrifying act captured on video by Darnella Frazier, a young African-American woman. Witnessing the life of a Black man being cruelly extinguished by a white police officer was and remains deeply traumatizing. No person with a conscience could watch this without being profoundly affected. Chauvin was convicted of murder and manslaughter, receiving a sentence of over 22 years in prison. Yet, George Floyd's death is not an anomaly. It is a glaring symptom of America's longstanding history of anti-Black violence and hate. This systemic racism has claimed countless Black lives over the centuries and continues to do so. The global protests following George Floyd's murder demanded an end to this pervasive pattern of violence. Elected officials, um, community leaders, business leaders, and corporations promised to invest in racial justice and equity. Billions of dollars were pledged to support Black causes, programs, and businesses. Corporations vowed to diversify their workforces through diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) initiatives. According to a 2021 Washington Post article, corporate America's $50 billion promise. Wow. Uh, uh, America's 50 largest public corporations committed nearly $50 billion to address racial inequity since Floyd's murder. So despite these promises, anti-Black police violence and racial disparities remain deeply entrenched in American society. These issues have persisted for centuries and are as American as apple pie. So should we trust the promises? Why shouldn't Black Americans be doubtful? To answer these questions, consider the following reasons for skepticism. Number one, in 2021, the U.S. House of Representatives passed H.R. House Resolution 1280, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, to address systemic racism and police brutality against Black and brown communities. However, the bill, not surprisingly, is stalled in the Senate with no sign of moving beyond this point. Number two, according to a 2024 NBC News report titled MAP, Republican lawmakers in more than 30 states have introduced or passed more than 100 bills to either restrict or regulate diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) initiatives. And, excuse me, in the current 2024 legislative session. Third reason, of the more than 50 billion promised by profit-driven corporate America in the 2021 Washington Post article mentioned above, 45.2 billion is allocated as loans or investments that they being corporate America, could stand to profit from. And 4.2 billion of the total pledge is in the form of outright grants. About 70 million went to organizations focused specifically on criminal justice reform. So, James Trice continues, while we recognize the progress achieved, America still grapples with deep-seated anti-Black sentiments, many of which have been internalized by members of the Black community. In light of this harsh reality, why should we trust the promises of those who perpetuate the damaging misconceptions about Blackness? The more significant question is, what promises have we as Black people made to ourselves after witnessing yet another public execution of a Black man? What commitments will we make to support each other and stand together against a system that still views us as interlopers? We may not always agree. We are not a monolith, but being unified and treating each other with respect is essential. As Malcolm X said, we should never fall out with each other just because we believe in different methods, tactics, and strategies. Malcolm X. So, Trice writes, here are 6 promises I believe we should make and keep to each other. 1, mutual respect. As Black people, we've endured immense hardships from slavery and Reconstruction to Jim Crow and ongoing racial disparities. We owe it to each other to listen deeply and understand how this historic trauma affects us individually and collectively. We are interconnected, and what happens to Black people anywhere impacts us all. Number 2, education. Commit to learning about our ancestral history from Africa to U.S. Black history. With the wealth of information available, there's no excuse for not knowing our history. We must also teach our children so they understand the context of our present struggles. I encourage us to read more, think more, and do more. Number 3, support Black businesses. promised to support Black-owned businesses without expecting special treatment and respect the effort it takes to run a business, especially in America. Black businesses should reciprocate by treating Black patrons with respect and providing them with excellent service, avoiding the negative stereotypes perpetuated by white-owned businesses. Number four, speak out against injustice. Make our voices heard about the injustices we face. Speak up whenever we hear about and witness wrongdoing, regardless of our relationship with those involved. Injustice must be confronted wherever it occurs and whomever is the victim. Furthermore, I firmly believe that to whom much is given, much is required. The rich, wealthy, and powerful among us must use their social, economic, and political and economic capital to address these injustices vociferously. Number five, kindness. Commit to speaking kind words to other Black people, even strangers. Simple acts like saying hello or congratulating someone can have a profound impact. Kindness costs nothing but means everything. Finally, number six, accountability. Hold ourselves and each other accountable for how we treat one another and how we present ourselves in shared space. We must reject the false assumptions that of an anti-Black system that sees us as inferior. So he concludes, these six promises are just a start. There are countless ways we can show kindness and support to each other. We cannot and should not rely on promises from those who sustain a system of white superiority and Black inferiority. We need each other now more than ever. Let us make a vow and honor it to take care of each other always as a Black family. James Baldwin said, quote, the American Negro is a unique creation. He has no counterpart anywhere and no predecessors. Let's honor that uniqueness and promise to stand united in supporting one another. Again, that's an essay by James Trice. James Trice is the founder and CEO of the Public Policy Project, LLC. He's creator of the Environmental Justice Coordinating Council. And you can reach him if you want to respond to this essay at James underscore public policy at msn.com. Well, that's a lot to think about. We'll cover some of that in the course of today's conversation. And with that, again, let me invite you to join us in the conversation, to bring your voice to the conversation. And no matter where you are, send us a note, say hello, shout out yourself, your town, your community, your interests. Let us know you're listening and tell other people that you're listening as well. So with that, let me go to Dr. B. Dr. B, good afternoon and welcome to the conversation. And let's also bring in my friend, Jeffrey Robinson, who is here to help us get connected to the event coming tomorrow, the Open Door, One Door project for Build Wealth Minnesota. And let's also bring in the person whose article I just read, James Trice. James, great article. Thank you for putting thought to paper and giving us a chance to present these ideas both in the newspaper and by reading it on today's program. So welcome everybody. But let me start today, as we always do, with Dr. B. Dr. B, how you doing, my sister, my queen?
I'm just happy to be here, my king and my wonderful brother, and the other two brothers that are representing up here today. I'm just more than honored to be here and to sit among kings and giants. So as we as
Yes.
we uh, as we go forward today, remembering that we stand on the shoulders of people who went before us, and somebody worked their way and hoped and dreamed our way into existence. So we first join in this circle by honoring our elders. And in this circle process, even though it is virtual, we see ourselves in a circle. And the reason we use circle is because there's no beginning and no end, no top or no bottom. Everybody has equal access to the center, which is where we share voice and knowledge. And as we sit here today, I'd just like to invite you to just close your eyes for a moment and understand and realize that all around you are the hopes and dreams of those who came before us. And as we inhale deeply, we bring in the hope and we exhale fear and worry and stress. This sacred space, as we inhale one more time and exhale, we claim our right to wellness, our right to wellness. And as we sit in this circle, and you may open your eyes when you're ready, as we sit in this circle and honor our elders, we also honor our ancestors. So while we stood on the shoulders of our elders stood on the shoulders of our ancestors. And as we honor our ancestors, we do so because they're closest to our Creator. And they stand ready as witnesses to our hopes, our dreams, our past, our future, and especially our now. And in the circle, we use a virtual talking stick. So if we were in a room together, we'd have this stick and would go in a very orderly fashion because African people are orderly. And we use the stick here. You can ask for the stick. That's one of the rules. If you just the spirit moves and you gotta have that stick, just ask for the stick, and it will likely be relinquished to you. And as we use the stick, we pass it around in circle that so that everybody is assured of having a chance for voice. So today, Baba Al, my brothers, Brother Jeffrey and Brother James, I am honored to sit in circle with you. And together we say the word Eshe, Eshe, and Eshe means thank you. Thank you. In honor of our elders and our ancestors, Eshe.
Ashe, Ashe.
Eshe. Here, Brother Al, I'm giving you the talking stick.
Great. Well, thank you. I'm going to do the same thing and just pass it and ask our other guests to say what's on their mind, top of mind, and it hasn't got to be on topic. It's as the spirit leads you at this moment. So, Brother James Trice, I'm going to pass the talking stick to you.
Thank you, Brother Al. Appreciate being here, being in space with you today. Dr. B, thank you so much for setting the tone for today and for our conversation today. I want to say I very much appreciate you and just your indomitable spirit and just your love for our people. Just thank you so much. Peace and blessings to you. Brother Jeffrey, blessings to you. We have never met before, but I've heard of your work and I've heard of the things you're doing to really build wealth in our community. And I do want to, now that I say that, the thing I want to say is that it is important for us as Black people to build wealth. Extremely important for us to do it. Wealth is probably one of the key pieces of power that we need. Not being rich. There's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. To me, being rich is you have money at your disposal and it may or may not work for you, but it's there, are resources. Wealth is that your money, whatever you have, works for you in your community. It helps build and continues to build over and over again. It's like a seed. When it's planted, it continues to produce fruit, even when it produces fruit and it falls to the ground, and then it produces more fruit. That's wealth. And our ability, our efforts historically to build wealth have been under siege, as evidenced 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. That was an effort upon by this society, by America, to assure that Black people would not accumulate wealth, because that's a threat to them as we accumulate wealth. Oh, they'll let us have some money. We can entertain them. But to begin to build wealth, that's why it's been such an attack on the, housing industry, the housing and loans. That's why it's been an effort to prevent us um, you know, from gaining wealth by giving us loans that are astronomically high and interest rates and so forth, over and over again. They're constant attack. So, brother, I want to thank you for your effort. And I know it says Build Wealth Minnesota. I want to focus on Build Wealth for Black folks. You know, so thank you so much for your work. And I just want to just throw that out there. Now, I actually pass uh, the talking point to you, Brother Jeffrey.
Thank you, Brother James, for that word, that kind word. First, I want to start off by thanking Dr. B for um, creating this bubble of peace where we can just enter in and kind of forget about, not forget, but remove ourselves from outside uh, so that we can really get back to our inner selves and and re-engage back with that spiritual connection that we all have. And um, Brother James, when I think about the attack against our wealth, I reflect back on conversations I've had with um, other family members, and I say family not in the sense of blood, but just relationship. And um, and I just recall just like, you know, telling some of my younger family members, like, if you want to see the remains of Black wealth, you only need to visit the bottom of or the underpassing of a highway in a major city. Because for every highway in every major city where there was once a thriving Black community, you will find the remains of that community. 94 Rondo community, Chicago 9435. No matter where you go, the remains are there. And which is why we're so committed here at Build Wealth Minnesota. We help all families, I want to say that we don't turn away anyone. We this is God's work that we're doing, and God don't have restrictions, and so neither do I. And however, when it comes to your point, Brother James, with regards to Black wealth, that's one of the reasons why we started a campaign called 9,000 Equities to close the disparity of Black home ownership here in Minnesota. Because when you look at the Black home ownership rate versus the white home ownership rate, and if you put it in a pie chart, they are identical for the exact opposite reasons. Our home ownership rate is 26% now. Their rental rate is 26%. Our rental rate is 74%. Their home ownership rate. So when you're looking at the pies, if you don't put any numbers there, no graphics, no details, it looks exactly the same with some minor, the numbers are minor differences between the numbers. They're not exact what I just quoted. However, but for the opposite reasons. And it's like, I think they were back in the 60s, they wrote not 60s, I can't remember exactly when, but they wrote, there was a book that was wrote, The Tale of Two Cities, and how polar opposite the communities were treated in relationship to our own personal finances here in the US. So, but I thank you, Dr. B, for that introduction, for introducing us into this space, and James for those kind words. And I turn the talking stick back over to Al.
Well, I'm going to come right back to you, Brother Jeffrey, because I want you to take a minute and talk about tomorrow. You've got an important activity that is available to our community and to everyone. Let's talk about that.
So, you know, it's interesting that the minute we start getting into position to really purchase homes, there's a change. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. That's not what I do. However, I am an acknowledger of the fact that in reality. And what I can tell you is when the foreclosure crisis happened, you know, we were impacted the most by the foreclosure crisis. And they changed the rules. They said, okay, for those who were foreclosed upon, we're going to lock you out of this mortgage system for the next 7 years. And in the course of the next 7 years, the prices of home ownership had dropped significantly. The interest rates have dropped significantly. Predatory products have been removed from the system, from the community. So all the trappings that led to the foreclosure crisis was removed, and we were removed from position to take advantage of it for 7 years.
Mm.
For those who were in position to take advantage of it, they changed the rules and said, okay, you can no longer use deferred student loans at 0%. So if the student loans was deferred, they used to use zero for the payment.
Mm-hmm.
No, but during the foreclosure crisis, those that were available and able to now take advantage of this new opportunity was some of the most educated of us who were in position to do so. However, you didn't get that education without getting $80,000, $70,000, $90,000 in student loans, and the student loans became predatory because now you got people with who don't even have I don't understand how this is legal. You don't have a college degree and yet you got $60,000 in student loans. How is that even possible? And you don't even have you don't need skip a college degree. You don't even have an associate's degree. And so now we get back to this place. The people that lost their homes in foreclosure, they're now in position to get back into home ownership. And guess what happens? The interest rates double.
Yeah.
They go to 7%. And so tomorrow is about leveling the playing field. That's what it's about. It's about those who in position to now take those who in position to purchase. However, they need some help in order to do it. That's what tomorrow's about. Tomorrow's about anybody who has a dream of owning a home and building wealth for their family. That's what tomorrow's about. It's about home ownership is the number one way that people across the globe, historically throughout humankind, have used to build wealth. In fact, the term, we still, like they say lords for the wealthy people. The word lord came from I won't say it came from, but we still use that word here, not so much as they do there in overseas, but over here we still use the word lord, but it's a combination word. It takes us all the way back to feudal system, where the original lords were the landlord. And so the man or one man that owned the land, they were the lords. And so now we have to get back into lordship position, our natural position, where we own the land. In order to do so, tomorrow is about that person who don't have the best credit, that person who don't have enough savings. Tomorrow is about that person who has enough savings, that person has enough credit. Tomorrow's about the person who have and the person who don't have. But what they do have commonly is they have a dream of owning a home. And tomorrow's about assisting families, especially Black families, with getting into position to own a home. And the concept of the event tomorrow is called One Door to Home Ownership. We don't want you having to walk through 9 different doors to figure out the process. We want you to come into one door and find exactly what you need. So if you need a realtor, they'll be there. If you need a lender that has community-based products that we value and that we trust, that we will recommend our family members to, they would be there. If you need down payment assistance, we'll be talking about over $100,000 in down payment assistance that a person might potentially be able to access if they meet the qualifications for. They'll be there. If you don't know where to start and you don't even know, like, I just know I got a dream and I want to get a home ownership and I have no idea where I need to start. Guess what? We'll have people there that will be able to do a soft pull on your credit report, give you your FICO credit score so you know exactly what your credit score is, meet with you for 15 minutes, and go through a series of basic questions with you to be able to tell you exactly how far you are from your goal and who you should be contacting or connecting with in that room to be able to continue and to finish and complete your journey. And so it's an all-day event. This is an all-day event. It's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. because we recognize that some people got to work on Saturdays. Some people had to work 10 o'clock last night and then get off until 7 o'clock in the morning. So they have like 3 hours before they have to call it quits. We want to be up for them. So the idea of the event is to make sure that you have everything that you need all in one location. And please, 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 my Black brothers and sisters, I am begging you, and I do sincerely, if you can really, if I hope you can feel it in my voice as the tears are welling up in my eyes, how serious I am when I say we really need you guys to come out. Because right now there has never been another, you will not find, I can tell you this, if you think the interest rates are going to go down back to 3%, I want to advise you of something. It took the collapse of the world economy to get the interest rates that high. That's a 120-year event. You're going to be, if maybe your great grandkids might be around when it happens again, maybe. But the idea that you're going to be around for another 120 years, God bless you. I'm praying it happens too. And I pray you have the income and the resources to make it happen and to move it forward. But for everyone else, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to find this other opportunity. You're not going to find it. And here's the thing. Can I be real? So here's
Please.
the thing. I'm your uncle, your big brother, I'm your cousin. I'm that dude that just sat across the bus from you, and now he done dropped some jewels on you, but you got to plant the seeds. But so here's the thing I want to tell you. It's not don't go into this thinking you have to go get your dream home. It's not about the dream home. It's about getting any home. Because guess what? A lot of this money is grants. So 5 years from now, if it's not the house that you want, you will have enough equity in that home to pull it out and go get you something really, really nice. So this is from my heart to your heart. Please come out and take advantage of this opportunity, because when opportunity knocks, if you don't open the door and let it in, you're going to be sent back saying, man, I wish. 9,000 equities, one door to home ownership is going to be on the corner in the third building on the corner of Penn and Plymouth, 1256 Penn Avenue, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Let me pass the talking stick back to James Trice. And I see our friend, Dr. Williams is here. Let's bring him in as well. Dr. Williams recently retired from the University of Minnesota. Brother, good to see you. Welcome.
Good to be seen, brother.
Congratulations, Doctor. Congratulations, Dr. Williams.
Thank you very much.
I want to come back to you in a minute, Dr. Williams, because I wanted you to get your thoughts on the breaking news I saw this morning on TV. And the newscaster was saying that the Supreme Court has decided that government has the right to remove arms or restrict arms from the person or possession of people that have a restraining order against them due to domestic violence. You are an expert on partner domestic violence. As I was listening to this, I said, I got to talk to Dr. Oliver, because he has a sense of the broad picture, the consequence, the depth of the problem, and what this means towards our understanding of both Second Amendment, but human dignity and human life, and our ability to abuse each other through the use of firearms. I'm going to come back. So think about that for a second. Brother Trice, I'm going to hand the talking stick back to you, because I want to give you a chance to also invite people to an important event. And these things are all connected. It's all how we build wealth as community. Brother Trice.
Yes, thank you very much, Al, and thank you, Brother Jeffrey, for that presentation and really inviting us to this tomorrow. And I hope that people really participate and come through and understand the significance of what you're trying to do, and show up and people get help. I'm going to believe God for that to happen for people tomorrow. So thank you so much. I just want to say also, Al, that I have to go after this. I have another engagement I need to get to, but I want to invite people to participate in the second meeting of the Upper Harbor Terminal update. I want to say Upper Harbor Development. They used to call it Upper Harbor Terminal. It was Upper Harbor Development that's happening. It's a 50-acre site in north side of Minneapolis on Dowling Avenue, Mississippi River. And there's a significant development that's going to take place there. And we've been doing community engagement for the last, since I know I've been engaged with the project since 2021, to engage people, to make sure that people understand what is happening and the development happening, and the opportunity for people to really make their voice heard and to say what it is they want in that development. Many times when development happens in Black and brown communities, we are afterthought. We're not brought into the decision maker table from the beginning. And things happen to us. Development happens to us, not with us. And this development promises to happen with us. And there's been a series of meetings over the last several years. And I just want to invite people to one that's happening this Wednesday, the 26th of June, at the same building that Brother Jeffrey is going to have this Build Wealth meeting in. And that's the 1256 Penn Avenue building, known as the Thor building, suite 5200. And this meeting specifically is going to talk about the health hub that is promised to happen there on the Upper Harbor development, along with several other things that I don't have time to get into, as you go to the city's website and get in and get more information on that. But from 5:30 to 7:30, come out, and we're going to talk about the health hub, what individuals want to see in that health hub. Right now, the city of Minneapolis and the developer United Properties is presenting a group called Inner City Tennis, really to provide that health hub, manage the health hub, should I say, but also looking for partners to really provide all of the health requests that people are asking. People are asking to go beyond tennis and go beyond sports, but to provide some mental health resources for people as well, emotional health, as well as some dietary things. So it's not just focused on sports, but they're looking for other ideas about what are possible health requests that the community has. But let me also say this, and going back to the wealth conversation, because I think this is something that we need to continue to resonate with and talk about, is that when the coordinated plan was approved by the city council for the Upper Harbor development to take place, within that coordinated plan, which was created also by community residents, community stakeholders, and so forth, they asked that the benefits of the development be focused toward ADOS communities. So let me be clear. ADOS, American descendants of slavery. They were specific in not saying BIPOC or people of color, because when we use those terms, you all, that still Black people are left out, right? You can say BIPOC, but Black people are still left out. You can say people of color, but Black people are still left out. We want to be specific that since North Minneapolis, my understanding, somebody here correct me if I'm wrong, the largest population of African Americans in the state of Minnesota is in North Minneapolis. We want to make sure that African Americans, descendants of slavery, benefit from the benefits that are happening. That's written in the coordinated plan. That's there, decided by the city council. That's going to take place. That we make sure we focus those benefits to those communities. And so I want to thank you all. Tomorrow, next Wednesday, the 26th of June. 5:30 to 7:30, food will be served. Come and make your voice heard around what you want to see with regard to the health hub, and that's just, again, this is just the first phase of this development. This is a large development. We're looking at 50 acres, and there's many components to it. But Wednesday is going to talk about the health hub and what people want to see. So,
And James, what's the price tag? What's the potential cost or investment involved in Upper Harbor?
well, I understand the question.
This is $100 million project, or what's the number? Is that number around? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's probably more than that. We're looking at
Mhm.
almost 50 acres of
Mhm.
development that's going to take place. And we're looking at entertainment venue that's going to be there, housing that's going to be created there, some job opportunities there, a park space that are there. Again, this health hub that is going to take place. It's a large development, and so I wouldn't want to put out a number there that's not
Right.
correct, right? But it is. Let me just say this though. It is probably the largest development taking place this far up the Mississippi River that has taken place in years. I think the next, the one before this, the largest development was the Holman development over at Heritage Park was a large, but this is larger than that. This is 50 acres of development that's going to happen in a community that's primarily populated with Black folks, African American people. So we want to make sure that Black folks are at the table when decisions are made about this. That's just the nature of my work, is to make sure that we are at the table when decisions are made around issues that impact our lives. And I want to make sure Black folks get their voice heard on this development.
James Trice, thank you. I hope I did justice in the reading of your article, Promises.
You did. I was surprised by that. Thank you for doing that.
Readers and listeners to get Monday's edition of Insight News, excellent essay, and others that are quite excellent as well. Having us think about the meaning of both Juneteenth, reflecting on George Floyd, and beyond. So, thank you so much, James. And
thank you.
All righty.
Dr. Rada, did you have? I thought you had a question.
Thank you. I did. I have a question and a comment before you get out of here, and that is, I would recommend and like to volunteer as many Black psychologists as possible for you to think about that space and what it means for us as a people to transition into the power of home ownership and the power of what it means to share again. Because we have been what they call deracinated, and that means stripped of our racial sense of self. And when a person undergoes that process for 400 years plus, it's hard to reclaim your own sense of wholeness. And I can tell you right now, you could find a lot of allies to have those conversations as a unique way of moving into and developing our own spaces. So I wanted to put that out there before you go, because you move fast. So I want to get you up.
Well, no, thank you very much, Dr. Rada. I don't know if you know my wife. My wife, Dion Trice, she's a therapist as well.
Of course.
Work, yeah. So you know who she is. But I'm gonna go back, Jeffrey, brother. There is a housing component on the Upper Harbor development that's happening. Several units of housing is going to be created there. Devin George, who has his company, is going to be leading some of that work and creating housing opportunities. I'm talking about home ownership opportunities for Black folks that own a home, low income Black folks that own homes that are right on the Mississippi River. So you can get a river view without paying Lakeshore Drive prices. And y'all know what those prices are.
Yes, we do. That's a wonderful, wonderful project.
All right, y'all. Blessings to everyone. Thank you again, Rada. Blessings.
Thank you, Brother James.
Yeah, thank you, Al. Please.
All right. Dr. Oliver, brother, good to see you and welcome. Let me just have you jump in and what's on your mind right now. And you can take it anywhere you want to go. Thank you for being here and congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you. Just a lot of gratitude. They did a good job. Serena Wright and Joan Blakey really did a nice job of sending me off. And I was telling both of them that they hadn't done what they did, I would have just walked out the door. That would have been that. But they were very, very kind and thoughtful to host the event the way that they did, and to have as many people show up for the event. And then the people that were on Zoom from across the world that participated, it was just very warm. I haven't heard a bad thing about it from anybody. Yeah, it was very pleasant. And thank you, Dr. Bravada, for your kind words and for that of friends and family and colleagues. It was very nice. So just blessed.
So can
And
I jump in? Because I want to bear witness. That's what little sisters get to do. So I'll claim you today as my big brother. And I'm going to say this. That event was fabulous. People came from all around the world. Do you hear me? Not just across the street or from Duluth or up on east side, west. They came from around the world, from South Africa and Europe. And I mean, it was like it was amazing. That's all I can say. It was like the United Nations, but the center of the power was in a Black man called Oliver Williams, who had already spilled out his heart and his work and his knowledge into every single person in that space. We were laughing, we were crying, we were hugging. We didn't even know each other when we started, but by the time he got through, it was like having church. We met so many new friends. So, Brother Oliver, God bless you as you step into this new part of your life, because I know you don't know how to quit working. We already know you're working with us. So
well, that's right.
Sit back.
It's been a blessing. Sonia and I are going to go to the Dominican Republic in July to do a presentation. As a matter of fact, Elizabeth is coming, and LaDonna, you saw her with the African American Domestic Peace Project from Detroit, and we're going to present to a group of community people and pastors about dealing with the intersection of domestic violence and faith. And so, one of the things that I've been thinking about, though, Al, is that, this Trump administration has done things to, I think, discourage people. If you didn't have your sense of faith beforehand, there can be people who are discouraged by what they see because their brand of faith is not my brand of faith. And
let me make a comment on that quickly, because this morning, my wife Bobby and I are watching the news, and there was a news story on Steve Bannon, right? And it tied into the elections coming up, and the Supreme Court being asked he's going to ask them to overturn his conviction, his prison sentence. And but Bobby said, "Look at this picture. He's in the frame, like you and I are all framed what's around us. But his whole background was pictures of Jesus and statues of Jesus." And so we said, the Jesus he served ain't the Jesus we serve.
Right.
I don't think it's the same. So what do you think? Because this guy is hell bent on destroying Black people from our point of view, and he represents the Trump ideology and intention. What do you think?
Well, I go back to that movie before Barack was elected as president, and the movie Head of State with Chris Rock. And
yes,
the Republicans made the Republicans in the movie said, "God bless us and nobody else." And then Chris Rock said, "God bless us and everybody else." And so the brutality and the selfishness and the exclusion, and also I've been thinking about why they want to deny histories of people that exist. Gay people exist. Black people exist, and we have our history. There are different communities. People who are trying to leave difficult circumstances in different countries coming to the United States is one way to be able to avoid. I work with people. I did some work in Canada, and there were people that left South America to get to the United States because they were, and get to Canada because they're killing folks and killing family members, dealing with the brutality that they're dealing with. So if you can't be thoughtful about even trying to address those issues and challenges, I don't know what's wrong with you. And what he did with families, breaking families up as an effort to discourage people to come to the United States, there's got to be better ways to be able to handle the circumstances and not just to be brutal. And that's not the God I know. And so, those are things that I've thought about. But I also, your questions with regard to weapons, that's not a new question. It's something that people have been thinking about over a period of time. And one of the challenges with it has been that, they didn't want to have have basically people having their weapons taken because there have been policemen who've had encounters with around domestic violence with weapons, and it became a challenge associated with them because they might be out of a job if the light shone on them in terms of their violence. But
Is there a prevalence of domestic violence in that profession? I know this is news to me.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, police among other groups of people, and using weapons is something that has taken place, and
And that could theoretically apply to soldiers as well, right? Because there's probably
yeah.
a lot of domestic violence in the military. I'm presuming. I don't know that, but
No, I've done training for the military, and yes, there is prevalence of domestic violence in the military, and they actually had a commission that would talk about how to respond to the issue of domestic violence. I even know people who were put out of the military because of their violence towards their partners. So yeah, it's something that people have to be thoughtful about, and from officers to enlisted men. So yeah, there are challenges and how to respond to people who are victims, whether they're um, married to the person and in another country, as well as if they're within the United States. So yeah, there are a lot of challenges.
so do you think, Dr. Williams, that we're on the right path in at least bringing the question to the court? Well, the court decision today reflected a 9-1 decision or 8-1 decision in favor of of um, uh, allowing the government to remove or restrict possession of arms by people who, not that they've been convicted, but even if they have restraining orders, it's a legal action. It's not a conviction, but it's a legal condition. And so that, on the one hand, seems to, probably raise the deepest fear of all the Second Amendment. Me and my gun are sacred, and you
Right.
can't touch me and my gun because I'm here to defend, the Holy Grail,
Right.
democracy. Uh, so so where do you see us going with that? How do we, what's the good of that, and what's the next level?
What's interesting to me is, why nobody's trying to run in your house and take all your weapons. Nobody's doing that. But the way that their argument shakes out, that's what they keep promoting. That the next step is that they're going to go in your house and take all your weapons. You don't need all the different types of guns that people have, and there's no need for it. And so the fact that people get up in arms about and allowing basically people who are selling guns to have their way associated with it and without curbing it, I think that's a problem. But if the effort is to be able to try to intervene to try to address those sets of issues, I think it's important to be able to do it.
So Jeffrey, let me stretch this conversation a little bit. I'm trying to see. I'm closing my eyes and looking sort of through my mind's eye, and what's the relationship between this penchant and passion for gun ownership. For gun ownership is also proxy for equity ownership, having something to defend. Gun ownership is a reflection of this idea that there's a sovereign commitment and obligation to defend that which is important, which is the land. And the land is the house, the personal property. It's the capacity to operate with authority in our society. The Constitution favored and sort of created to protect landowners and property owners, and that expanded over years through amendments. So there's this track of guns, equity, power, control, and you described a system that at the same time denied those same opportunities for people that look like me and you, Black people in particular, the descendants of the enslaved Africans. And so, how do we make sense of this? I mean, how do we understand where we're operating within, but also be clear on what we must do, both individually, as families and community, collectively, to move towards the creation and maintenance of wealth. Wealth being, I think, as James described it, the ability to be regenerative. Something matures, and its seeds grow again, and they mature, and those seeds grow again. All of it, accumulation of a wealth that is not just richness, but it's different. Jeffrey, what do you think?
So just speaking on it from a personal standpoint, I've been a homeowner now since me and my wife purchased our home back in 2024. So we're coming up on 20 years of home ownership. And it wasn't until COVID that I actually felt compelled to go buy myself a weapon for our house, because I bought into some of the hysteria at that time. And the hysteria was due to me going into a gun shop and them handing me a card saying to come back in 3 hours and we'll be able to meet with you, because it was that many people that was in that particular gun shop buying every piece of weapon that they could get their hands on. The minute I got that weapon and put it inside my house, I was uncomfortable. Not uncomfortable because I've never been with a gun before. I grew up in one of the most violent neighborhoods in Chicago, Illinois, and we had guns all over the house for protection. And the idea that because in my neighborhood, so it was kind of crazy. However, when you think about, and I had to go to the gun range to learn how to use the gun because that ain't what I did. And, that became even more uncomfortable for me because I was practicing killing another person. You're not going to the gun range to shoot at a target. You're going to the gun range to practice killing another person. And so I'm conflicted, right? Not conflicted because I don't believe a person should be able to protect what they keep. I'm conflicted because I don't own anything. It's my home, right? But I don't own that home. That's God's home. I don't, he, so spiritually speaking, I can only speak from that manner. I don't own anything that cannot be taken from me at the blink of an eye. Because when I transition, I can't take any of this stuff with me. So I don't technically own it. And and two, I stay over North Minneapolis. Not one time have we ever worried about anybody ever breaking into our house. Not one time have we had anything stolen. I've left my keys in the ignition of my car at times. Not one time has anyone, and I've left my keys in the door of my car and then realize I did it until the next day I'm looking for my keys. So I get what people are talking about with regards to wanting to protect. But here's what I'm going to say about that. Let's first worry about getting something that you feel somebody can take from you. Let's power. There's power in home ownership. If you feel like you need a weapon, okay, that's to each his own. However, I can tell you right now that there's no greater power you're gonna get than that comes from watching your kids walk into a room and not have to worry about somebody knocking on the door because you're 3 days late on the rental payment. There's no power greater than listening to your kids say, "Mommy or Daddy, is that my room? My room just for me?" There's no greater power than watching your grandkids playing in your backyard, the same yard that you raised your kids in. There's no greater power than knowing your neighbors and knowing your neighbors' kids and watching them grow up from being little bitty babies to now asking you to watch their kids when you used to watch them. There is no greater power than supporting families in your neighborhood from your base of operation, which is your home, helping them get into position to be able. There's no, so I totally get what people create artificial things to make them feel powerful. But truly, Al, if we're going to be talking about wealth, if we're going to be talking about well-being, if we're going to be talking about true power, then let's talk about owning everything that we set our foot on. Because you don't need guns to be powerful.
I think I'm going to let that be the mic drop. We're a little bit over time, but this is well said, Brother Jeffrey. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you.
Dr. Oliver, Dr. B, thank you both so much. I'm Al
Woo!
McFarlane. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Al.
Bye.
Bye.